We are here today for the purpose of celebrating the second annual Saddle of Honor induction. The first time it was Charles M. Russell, and today we are honoring Montana's storyteller in bronze, Jay Contway. We're going to honor his contributions to the culture, the traditions, and the values of Montana and the American West. So, the idea of the Saddle of Honor, it really started with a conversation with Tom Petrie, the former president or chair of the board of directors, and Jim Peterson. And it was an idea, looking for an idea for the Russell Museum and the Cowboy Hall of Fame to work together on a common project. Tom had this saddle, which he donated back to the museum as the Saddle of Honor point. And then soon Bill Galt was involved in it, and the idea of the Cowboy Hall of Fame and the museum was off and running. So the first person to receive the Saddle of Honor was Charles M. Russell. Pretty easy pick. So what to do with the second one to get this award? And so what we did is we had a committee, and we picked all the obvious ones the first time we met. We had Granville Stewart, we had Teddy Blue Abbott, we had Sitting Bull, we had Thomas Marr, we had Nelson Story. And we realized that we were, in a way, picking the players before we picked the sport, because we really didn't know what we wanted or what the potential of this Saddle of Honor could be. And so we went back, rethought really defining what this honor is, and decided that it should be someone who's contemporary, who can celebrate this honor with their friends and family. And so we came back to the table again with names. We were allowed, the people on the committee got to pick 2 people to come back with. Most of the people on the committee had 1 name. The people who had 2 names had the name that everyone else had first, and then they had a second name, and that name was J. Joseph Contway. Back in the day when Old Wild West, before there were any written laws, cowboys had rules to live by. Today, they're still hard to flaw. Values captured by Charlie Russell's art have long stood the test of time. They became known as the Code of the West, and breaking them was considered a crime. If he made a promise, he kept it. To a cowboy, his word was his bond. Anything worth doing was worth doing well. He knew the difference between right and wrong. A cowboy did what he had to do. He was honest, loyal, and rode for the brand. Talk less, say more, and finish what you start. His hard work made him a reliable top hand. Cowboys followed the golden rule. It wasn't anything new. It had been around for hundreds of years. Treat others like you'd have them treat you. Russell captured the code with his art and soul. What to learn from this Code of the West is to walk the talk, and is a good place to start. And being friends with Charlie brings out the best. So that poem, thank you for letting me share that, Jim. And it does tell the story of the book and some of the criteria that we were looking for when we went through to figure out who would be the next person to receive the honor of being in the Saddle of Honor. J. Joseph Contway was born in Malta, Montana, February 13, 1935. His ancestry includes Native American, English, and Irish. After he graduated from high school in 1953, he worked in the oil fields of Oklahoma and Kansas. He worked on the railroads. He eventually became a teacher, a husband, and a father. Really nothing that he jumped off under the radar screen for. He was an ordinary beginnings to an extraordinary man. What first catches your eye when you look into the story of Jay Contway is this rodeo He began rodeoing as a self-taught calf roper, and he did it to feed his family. That's a little different from the carefree rodeo life of cowboys with lots of sponsors. And he was pretty good at it. He went on to win the North Central Montana Rodeo Association Championship in 1964, 1965, and 1966. And I would imagine when the other people saw you come in, they were thinking, wonder how much money there is in second. So, pretty amazing production there. So when his artwork began to take off, he retired from competitive rodeo and was still raising and training fine rope horses. In 1986, Troy Pruitt won the NFR on a Contway horse. Jay has been an artist all his life, from the sculpting of figures out of the mud clay near Beaver Creek to watercolors, oils, pens, and ink. In 1972, Jay built his own foundry, and so he could have complete control over all stages of his sculptures. Many artists have stated that he was always way ahead of his time. Now, for professional rodeo contestants, among the most highly coveted awards is the bronze from the Calgary Stampede. And for the professional artist, to have your sculpture selected in this highly competitive arena is equally rewarding. In my count, which is unofficial, Jay has had an unprecedented 27 selections as his bronzes being the awards at the Calgary Stampede. Every year since 1988, he has had a bronze at the Calgary Stampede. He's the only artist to be commissioned 4 times for the Chuckwagon bronze, and still at 84, they will be awarding one of his bronzes. If you want to see that, you can see why other bronze or artists maybe don't jump on the fact to do a Chuckwagon race bronze. There's one in this case over here, and the detail of it and the work that went into it is just, it's amazing. So take a moment on your way up to the Russell stuff to take a look at that one bronze in particular, because it is the reason why he's been there 27 times. He has created over 225 pieces of work, and out of those, over 6,000 sculptures. Each one of those is a true treasure. Jay Contway is, and thus his art is, authentic and original. Jay Contway is the real deal. In 2016, Jay was inducted into the Montana Pro Rodeo Hall and Wall of Fame and the Montana Cowboy Hall of Fame. He is a previous inductee in the initial Skull Society of Artists at this museum, and he is in the Hall of Fame at the Calgary Stampede. Jay once said, when I make a sculpture, I want people to feel movement. I want them to know without thinking what is going to happen next. I try to capture that action in mid-stride. I get great satisfaction when an old cowboy tells me that my art is real and that it's accurate. Probably the greatest judges of all are those people that rodeoed with you. He said that his favorite is in his life and in his heart, and in his art are the horse. Now I'd like to ask Bill Gall to come up for a presentation.
Well, thank you everybody for coming. This is a real treat. We give away, one of these every year. The first one being Charlie Russell, as I told you, but it's way more special to present it to a lifelong friend. And I've known Jay since I was in high school. My dad used to deal with Jay, and the neat thing about Jay and his art is he was a cowboy first, and then learned the art from cowboy. Jay's drug thousands of calves on my ranch, and helped us move cattle. We spent a lot of time together. He's also kind enough to get me bucked off my own Brandon Crow one time. So anyway, it's with great pleasure that we award Jay Contway the Saddle of Honor Bronze, which coincidentally was made by Jay Contway.
If you go upstairs, right to the right of the information booth, there's a quote on the wall. And it says, "We are partners. She is the business end and I am the creative. She lives for tomorrow and I live for yesterday." So it is this combination which brings things to today. Charles M. Russell. Well, that's a quote that can fit any artist that I've ever met, man or woman. They've always had someone else helping them along, writers, musicians. And I think for the past 23 years, Lynn has been right there with Jay. And Lynn provided me with a statement from Jay that I'd like to read for you now. It's a real honor. I've had so many friends to thank in my life that I could not start to begin to name them because I would forget some of the most important. I really thank each and every one of you who are here because you've made an impact on my life and the success of my career, whether it is my art or my horses. I am grateful that Leroy Strand, who appreciated my art, saw my skill as an artist and had the wisdom to donate so much work to this museum. I know my work will live on because of the Russell and the Glenbow in Calgary and other institutions that are collecting me. And I want you all to remember, you can never have too many bronzes.